everyone, welcome to the Business of Property podcast. I'm Stuart.
And I'm Simon.
We're both property people running our own property businesses, and this podcast is us just having a chat, as we often do, about anything and everything property. So, firstly, hello Simon, welcome to the new year. Have you had a good break?
Indeed, thank you. Yes, welcome to 2020. I have had an unusually break-like break. I have a habit of working pretty much throughout the holidays, and this year I had 2 weeks-ish, whatever it was, almost without work.
Congratulations.
Obviously not completely without work, but almost without work.
Is that property work?
All work.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing broke in any of the properties, so I didn't have to deal with anything there. And in my software development and business world as well, there were a few little bits that needed attention, but largely I was relaxed and spending time with family at home.
Very good.
How about yourself? How was your break?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, as we mentioned briefly before, as relaxing as it can get with 4 kids, but no, really nice. But obviously ready to come back to work for a break. So
yeah, I left the house this morning with screaming children, arguing with my wife as I ran out of the door.
yeah, everyone ready for them to go back to school. That's how it is. But yeah, it's interesting you mentioned no property, because I did get one contact from an agent saying that there was a leak in one of my properties. It's in one of the in the bigger ones, a 7-bed. And there was a bit of a leak, and then someone's looking at it, and they just sent me a quote for £2,000 and just said, when you want to start the work. I said, I need to understand a little bit more about the problem before I'm going to say yes to £2,000.
Ouch! Yeah.
So that's gone back into the mix, and so I'll be delaying that quote or getting multiple quotes on that one. So that was a nice little Christmas present.
Yeah, have you not got more details on it yet?
Not yet. It's one of those where I think the tenant complained about a leak, and whoever's going to look at it said but I think it's related to the chimney stack or something like that. Something.
Also, an external leak from weather,
and essentially a large proportion of the cost is scaffolding, which is always makes me shudder, because anything I've ever had to do with mold scaffolding, all of a sudden, most scaffolding you're looking at anywhere between £600 and £1,000 to erect it before you even start the work. So
yeah, you can't do it with a cherry picker or something like that.
No, this is pretty big. So yeah, I imagine as it is very high, building's quite high, so it's at least a 3-story, possibly 4. So
oh dear, yeah.
Anyway, we'll see where that one comes out. But
that does actually remind me that one of my properties, one of my joint owned properties actually has an ongoing. Well, it was first identified as a damp issue, but we think actually it's a leak as well in a roof over a bay, and it's where we don't think the roof line actually extends far enough out away from the wall, so the water is just running off the roof and down the wall and soaking through. It's an old property, so it's single skin. Yeah, not much protection from that.
No.
That is an ongoing issue. We've been trying to track it down and identify it and put in fixes and things for a little while. Yeah, I've still got to deal with that one.
Well, they're 2 words that also make me shudder: a single skin, because I had a lot of problems with those, and probably one for another podcast. But for instance, Kent Reliance will not loan on single skin, as I've learned to my detriment. And I was actually in the process of buying 2 properties, neither of which they would loan against. And by this time we'd paid for valuations, various other things. I think it cost me a few £1,000s in the end. But it's a single skin. That's something I tend to veer away from now when I'm purchasing properties.
Yeah, well, strange you should mention that, because this point is actually going to come up a bit later as well, because we're going to be investigating the feasibility of selling it this year. So
well, it depends where it is. So, and again, this is Kent Reliance, so they're obviously more of a specialist lender in the world of buy-to-let. But it would be generally for single skids on a bath bathroom or kitchen wall?
It's on the whole house.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so that could be a challenge.
Yeah, it's not a modern house, this one.
Okay, so start of the year, we were thinking about what we've got planned for the year. What's your kind of biggest goal to achieve this year in property?
Well, I'm going to be quite vague in this because I haven't fully formulated my goals for the year yet. I think you're going to be a lot more prepared than I am. But overall, I've got this property I just mentioned that we're going to at least investigate selling, and if we can, sell. And then from that, and possibly other fundraising, I would really like to purchase 3 more.
This year?
This year. Yes, I err away from market forecasts particularly, but I reckon this year's probably going to be as good as any to buy. I don't think things are going to be zooming up too much at the moment. They might be going down a bit more, hopefully not completely crashing, but we'll see. I think if we can sell that one, then that will enable the new purchases. If we can't sell that one, then I'll have to go back to the drawing board.
And is it that it's not particularly profitable property that why you want to sell it?
It's in terms of yield, it's quite low because it's quite high value, mostly due to its location, but it's not that big, and hence it hasn't got terribly high rental value.
What's the percentage yield?
Oh, now you're asking.
It's the interview room coming up.
I'll cut this bit out while I get the calculator out. Right, calculator away. And the yield is 3.2%, give or take. It might actually be a bit lower than that if the valuation is higher, but that's a pessimistic valuation of the property.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, the bigger reason for potentially selling it is that it keeps being hassle. So there's quite a lot of equity stored in it.
Right.
It keeps being hassle to maintain. And while it's a great location, and that's one of the reasons we've sort of tried to keep it for as long as we can, I think we've decided that it's served its purpose for us, and time to move on.
Have you had a long time?
So, yes.
I'm just wondering about CGT.
Yes, CGT will be an issue.
Yeah, because we've got one little studio flat, which, funny enough, I had a party with my wife around 12, 13 years ago, where I fought to keep the property, and now I'm kind of at the stage where I want to sell it, but she doesn't want to sell it, so we're going to go back around that house again. But the bigger challenge is, there's probably, she bought it in 2003, so, the equity, we've refinanced it a few times, and that's the challenge. So, we might release 100k, however, it's increased in value by, let's say, 150. So I need to get a proper accountant on it to have a look at where we can be as efficient, he says, with air quotes, as possible. But, we could potentially lose, and if, let's say, for example, if the CGT was 50 to 75k, we're only actually getting 100k out of it. There's no point for us to release 25k to do that. That's why I was asking, sorry.
Yeah, and it makes sense. We will be facing a pretty hefty capital gains tax bill from it, but there's a lot of equity in it, so it will still be worthwhile.
It's another subject, I think, isn't it? CGT for us at some stage.
That'll be an exciting episode.
But an important one. I'm not you, but because my wife even said, if we move back into the property for a year, that could alleviate. But anyway, let's move swiftly on.
Yes, although actually, you could do that because currently you're renting, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you could quite easily move yourselves into a property
If HMRC believed that 6 people could move into a 29.5 square metre flat, that's the only challenge I've got.
Yeah. Perhaps you'll have to wait until your kids are old enough to live on their own.
Would you know that could be an idea though? So if anyone from HMRC is listening, obviously there is no intention whatsoever to do this. Well, purely speculating on what we could do. Okay, so that's a good goal. Sell the property, buy 3 more.
That's my property plan. And my other goals are all around extending my property and tenant manager business and extending the software. I've got quite specific intentions for things I want to improve and develop on that. And as ever, I need to work on my marketing and that side of that business as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where my focus is going to be this coming year. How about yourself?
Yeah, well, you finished with the word focus there, and that is going to be my word of the year, because I suffered last year from 2019 of not being focused enough, trying to do too many things, because everything seems new and exciting. I think anyone that works in property or is self-employed or has their own businesses probably, I would imagine, suffers to varying degrees from similar things. We call it the shiny penny syndrome, but every time something exciting comes along, you just want to do it. And I did that last year, even to the point of, offering my services for free to someone, for a month, because, just wanted to see how it goes. And of course, there was no time. There's absolutely no time. So this year is definitely going to be a year of focus. And for me, it's also going to be coupled with simplicity. So for the first thing I want to do is ensure that my property business is profitable. And when I say it out loud, it just sounds ridiculous and stupid. But again, I think anyone that's been in property for any period of time would know that it's not always that easy, given that the amount of costs that we incur, certainly going into the purchase of a property, the ongoing,
a lot of upfront costs in property.
A lot of upfront costs, and I'm not going to go into the ongoing costs. So for me, as you know, I've got about 40 rooms, and that's the challenge. So how do I achieve profitability? Well, 2 things. Again, really simple, but reduce costs as much as I can, which we kind of did last year. Back end of last year, I feel like I've really done that. So in terms of profitability now, my target is to achieve sort of 96 to 100% occupancy, and in that room rate, basically that allows for 1, possibly 2 rooms to be empty, because there's more at the moment. Yeah,
you were having some issues with voids, weren't you, at the end of last year?
Yes, and we still have them. So it's now focusing on that, because my problem is I just want to build. But another sort of a really good book I've read recently was The Road Less Stupid, and it's really just about focusing on when you're building a machine, whatever that machine is. So in this, for me, it's the tenant rental machine. Is that if it's not profitable, if I keep adding to that while it's unprofitable, how do I know I'm not just creating a bigger problem? So for me, it's okay. Let's get this fixed, and I don't think I would do that, because I now I've obviously got more experience. So my goals are to create a profitable business and also return investor capital. So I've got a couple of £100,000 of investor capital in the business, and really it's just executing on that. So those plans exist. And although that sounds ridiculously simple, for me it's going to be quite a tough thing to do, because I find it very hard just to focus on just daily doing those things. When I get the next Rightmove email into my inbox, or as happened last week, an estate agent emails me and says, "Stuart, I've just got a great 7-bed, I think you'd really like it." My immediate reaction is, brilliant, I'll jump in the car and I'm going to drive down and have a look at that property. Whereas now, the focus means I reply and say, that's great, but for the next 6 months I'm not looking at properties. So a tough one for me. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, that's good luck.
Thank you.
I don't think I'd be able to steer away from looking at interesting and shiny properties for that long.
I may still do a bit of property porn online. Just keep my eye on the market.
Oh yeah.
Truth is,
got to keep an eye on it at least.
Yeah, you want to know how the market's going. I mean, as part of my investor release plan. I've got a flip that's going at the moment, so we're still refurbing that. So that'll be hopefully finished towards the end of this month-ish. And so that'll go on the market. And, so that'll be about releasing funds and paying close attention to what's happening in local markets. So there's a lot to do. I think it's just reining myself in. That's, like I say, one word that I'll be writing on the front of my hand is focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a very good thing to aim for. I'm terrible for seeing interesting bits of land pop up on Rightmove or a great big house that could be converted into flats, and I don't have the experience to deal with these things, and I certainly don't have the time to be learning how to deal with these things at the moment. But it's always exciting to imagine.
And that's it. I think that's the thing about property, because it's always there and it's prevalent, and the things you know how to deal with, you want to do them. I mean, I won't go into too much of this, but I met a vendor last Thursday, so I drove down to Plymouth last Thursday. And to be honest,
what was that after you got the email about the 7-bed? Did you know that quickly?
No, this was before.
Okay.
So I did a landlord campaign, and I've been in touch with the landlord that basically transpired he now wants to sell his property. And I really like the property, but it's transpired that the property's already on the market, which I didn't know, and I think that's made clear. He's kind of given me a number that he'd like to sell it for, which is about 10% less than it's on the market for. But I don't feel like there's any additional benefit. It's one of those where I think, well, if it were on the market, I think I'd probably get it at this price anyway. Anyway, that's another conversation, but that just again shows that for me, focus is good. So I think we've got quite clear goals there. I think it's really just making sure we stick to them.
Yeah, that's always going to be the challenge, isn't it? I think it's always good to have a structure around trying to sort of help yourself to meet your goals. I know last year we were both working together on a 12-week-a-year structure or plan from the book of the same name, and I think we're going to restart that again shortly for I was going to say this year, but actually, of course, it's 12 weeks. So I think that's good to help with that and provides weekly accountability and a breakdown of sort of actions to help meet those goals and work towards them.
Definitely, I think, for me, the accountability is probably number one for me, is just actually being able to, speak with you and, get that verbal kick up the backside, even to oneself before you walk in the room, be like, oh, right, I'm going to have to share this. So I think it does get me a little bit more impetus. So
you're very good at that, so I do appreciate that.
Lots of practice.
Should we finish up there for this time?
I think that's good enough. Well, good having a chat.
Okay, cool. So for more details on Stuart and I, along with any links we mentioned, have a look at the show notes on thebusinessofproperty.com.